The room went silent the moment she stood up. My mother-in-law swayed slightly, wine glass trembling in her hand, eyes glassy with the kind of truth people only spill when their guilt finally becomes heavier than their pride. "We've been celebrating lies for 21 years, she muttered. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Then she looked straight at me, not at her daughter, not at the guests, at me, and said, "I can't keep lying anymore. The son you call yours is not your son." The sound that left the table wasn't shock, it was collapse. My wife's face drained of all color, her lips parted, but no words came out. Our son, sitting 3 seats away, went still as stone. I felt my heart thud once, hard, and then everything inside me went quiet. Cold. Focused. "Mom, please," my wife whispered, voice cracking. "Not like this." Her mother ignored her completely. "You should have told him years ago," she slurred. "He deserved the truth." My wife reached for my arm, panicked. "Ethan, please." I pulled my arm away slowly. "Hi everyone, my name is Ethan Cole," and in that moment I realized the last 2 decades of my life had been built on someone else's script, not mine. I didn't yell. I didn't stand. I didn't break a single glass. I simply looked around the table, at the faces that had shared holidays with me, smiled at me, accepted gifts from me, and saw nothing but fear. Because they all knew. And what I did next would decide exactly what they lost. And they were going to lose everything. The air felt heavier than the room itself, thick enough to choke on. No one moved. No one breathed. My wife kept whispering my name like it was a shield she could hide behind. "Ethan, please, listen to me." But all I could hear were the pieces of my life rearranging themselves. 21 years. 21 years of birthdays, school plays, scraped knees, late-night fevers. Moments I thought belonged to me. My mother-in-law slumped back into her chair, guilt spilling from her like the wine she'd been drowning in. "He deserved to know," she repeated, softer now. My wife lunged forward, grabbing her mother's arm. "Stop talking. Stop." I raised a hand. She froze. For the first time in our marriage, her eyes didn't hold love or anger or confusion. They held fear. I turned to my son. He was staring at me, eyes wide, not understanding everything, but understanding enough. The betrayal wasn't his. It never would be. I nodded at him gently. "It's okay. None of this is your fault." My wife trembled. "Ethan, I was scared. I was young. I didn't know how to tell you. Please." "You knew," I said quietly. "You all knew." Her parents wouldn't look at me. Across the table, her brother shifted uncomfortably, guilty in a way that confirmed he'd known too. So it wasn't one lie. It was a family tradition. I stood up slowly, placing my napkin on the table. "What are you doing?" my wife whispered. I met her eyes. Starting phase 1. Her face broke, because she had no idea what that meant. But she knew it wasn't forgiveness. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't touch anything. I didn't storm out. I simply walked to the kitchen counter where my jacket hung and pulled out the folder I'd brought with me, the one no one knew about except me. My wife's eyes widened. "Ethan, what is that?" I set the folder on the table. Her father swallowed. "Son, let's not escalate." I cut him off with a single look. Inside that folder were answers, ones I had quietly gathered when small suspicions began years ago. Not infidelity, just little fractures in timelines, stories that contradicted themselves, reactions that didn't fit. I never confronted her. I learned instead, because I believed in our marriage. I believed in her. But I also believed in facts. I slid the first paper across the table, a paternity test request I had filed privately when our son was 9. Not because I doubted him. Because I doubted her. My wife's breath hitched. You tested him?" "No," I said calmly. "I tried to. But someone called the clinic pretending to be you and canceled the appointment." Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her brother stared at the floor. I continued, "I didn't push it. I told myself I was paranoid. I told myself you loved me too much to lie to me." Tears streamed down her face. "Ethan, please?" I leaned forward. "You let me doubt myself rather than tell me the truth." Her voice broke. "I was going to tell you someday." "No," I said softly, "you were going to take this lie to your grave." Then I pulled out the second envelope, thicker, sealed. Her face drained completely, because she recognized it. "What is that?" her father whispered. I tapped it once. Phase 2. The entire table went still, because they finally realized I hadn't come tonight unprepared. My wife stared at the sealed envelope like it was a loaded weapon pointed straight at her life. Her hands trembled. Her breathing turned shallow. Everyone else? Dead silent, as if sound itself was scared to exist in the same room as the truth. "Ethan, don't open that," she whispered. I didn't sit. I didn't blink. I slid the envelope closer to her. "You recognize it," I said. "Tell them why." She shook her head violently. "Please, please don't." Her brother's voice cracked. "What's in there?" I answered for her. Proof I wasn't the only one she lied to. My wife's mother sobbed quietly, head in her hands. Her father looked at his daughter as if seeing her for the first time, and not liking what he saw. I finally broke the seal. Inside were 21 years' worth of financial statements, hidden account transfers, quiet withdrawals, all small, all unnoticed, all tied to one very specific date, the week our son was conceived. I placed the documents in front of her. "You took money from me," I said softly, "to pay him." Her face crumpled in on itself. "Ethan, I swear, it was only once." I panicked. I didn't know how to explain. "You paid the biological father," I said calmly, "and you've been paying him ever since." Her father whispered, horrified, "Is that true?" She didn't answer. Her silence was the answer. She covered her mouth with shaking fingers. "Ethan, I was young. I was stupid. I was scared you'd leave me." I leaned forward, my voice steady. "You didn't lie to protect our family. You lied to protect your comfortable life." Her body shook as she collapsed back into her chair. But I wasn't done. I placed one more document onto the table, the one that made every single person in the room freeze. A legal notice, a timestamp, and my signature. Her eyes widened in pure terror. Because this document wasn't about the past. It was about what happens now. My wife reached for the document with trembling fingers, but I placed my hand on it first, not to stop her, but to make sure she understood something. This moment belonged to me, not her lies. Her voice cracked. "Ethan, what is that?" Everyone leaned in. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. I slid the paper toward her. "It's the date I hired a private attorney," I said quietly. 3 months ago." Her head jerked up. 3 months? "But you didn't know anything 3 months ago." "That's where you're wrong." I looked around the table, at the people who had treated me like family while hiding a secret big enough to break a man. 4 years I ignored red flags. I made excuses. I protected a story I hoped was true. I met her eyes. "But 3 months ago I saw a message on your phone from a number with no name. Just a scheduled payment notification." Her face drained. I had the number traced. The recipient wasn't a bill collector, a friend, or a coworker. I tapped the legal document once. It was the biological father. Her brother whispered, "My God?" I continued, voice steady. "My lawyer advised me to gather evidence quietly, calmly, without confrontation." I gestured to the files. "So while you were lying to me, paying him, and pretending everything was fine, I was documenting everything." Her hands shook violently now. "Ethan, please, don't do this. Don't destroy our family." I looked at her with a calm she didn't expect. "You destroyed it 21 years ago. I'm just acknowledging the ashes." Then I lifted the final page of the notice, the one with a bold title she hadn't seen yet. Her eyes widened in horror as she read it, and the entire room felt the shift, because what she saw wasn't a threat. It was the beginning of the end. My wife clutched the final page with white knuckles, her eyes darting over the bold heading again and again as if rereading it would somehow change the words. "Petition for complete dissolution of marriage, with financial recompense and custodial reassessment." She looked up at me, stunned. "Ethan, please, no. Not like this. Don't file this. We can fix us." "There is no us," I said calmly. "There never was. There was your story and the role you assigned me." Her father shook his head slowly. "You planned this, all of this?" "No," I replied. "I planned my escape." My wife tried to stand, but her legs buckled. She grabbed the edge of the table. "Ethan, I was young, I was terrified. Please just listen." "I did listen," I said quietly. "For 21 years, I listened to every lie you coded with affection." The room was silent. I placed the next set of documents on the table, a thick packet of notarized records. "These," I said, "are payment logs, transfers, messages, bank statements. Proof you've been sending him money every year since our son was born." Her mother gasped. Her brother closed his eyes. My wife covered her mouth, sobbing. "I didn't want it to happen. He threatened to expose everything. I thought if I kept paying him, he'd disappear." I raised a hand. "That's the problem. You didn't trust me. You trusted the man who betrayed you." She collapsed back into her chair. I stepped closer, not in anger but in clarity. You didn't just take 21 years from me, I said. You took the chance for me to decide my own life. You took my choice. And now, I'm taking it back. Her breath trembled. Ethan, what are you going to do? I lifted the last page of the packet, the one stamped with a date. Tomorrow morning, I said, this gets filed. Her entire body shook. But she had no idea. That wasn't the real bombshell. The real one was still in my pocket. Every eye in the room stayed fixed on me, but the weight of their stares felt insignificant compared to the truth inside the small sealed envelope I now held between my fingers. My wife saw it and froze. No, she whispered. Ethan, what is that? What else did you do? I didn't answer immediately. I looked at my son, the boy I had raised, protected, taught, loved without hesitation. His eyes were filled with fear, not of me, but of losing the only father he had ever known. I knelt beside him. Listen to me, I said gently. None of this, is your fault. You are my son in every way that matters. That will never change. Tears streamed down his face as he nodded. Then I stood and faced the woman who had orchestrated 21 years of deceit. You weren't the only one doing things quietly, I said. Her breath hitched. Ethan, please don't. I opened the envelope. Inside was a certified document. A DNA test. Not from years ago. From last month. Her knees buckled. You finally tested him? I nodded. After I found the payments to his biological father. Everyone held their breath. My wife sobbed, Ethan, please don't say it. But I didn't hand the document to her. I handed it to my son. He unfolded it with trembling hands, scanning the lines, his lips parting in shock. His eyes lifted to mine. Dad, it says you're still? I nodded once. I'm your father. The room erupted, gasps, sobs, disbelief. My wife collapsed, completely undone, because her final lie, the one she relied on to justify everything, was now the one that destroyed her. And I wasn't finished. I turned back to her, voice ice cold. Tomorrow when I file the papers, I'm also filing for full custody. Her scream shattered the silence. But the consequences weren't done. Not yet. Phase 3 was about to begin. Her scream echoed through the dining room, raw and feral. The sound of a woman watching the world she built on lies finally collapse under its own weight. You can't take him from me, she cried, reaching toward our son. He flinched away. Not toward me. Not toward her parents. Just away from the woman who had spent 21 years deceiving everyone at this table. I stepped between them. You didn't lose him today, I said. You lost him the moment you decided your lie was more important than his truth. Her father wiped his face with shaking hands. Ethan, we never wanted this. I looked at him, really looked. Then you should have told me the truth 21 years ago. Silence. I gathered the documents, slid them back into my folder and buttoned my jacket. No shouting. No rage. Just the quiet finality of a man who had reclaimed his life. My wife crawled forward, grabbing the fabric of my pants. Ethan, please. Don't do this. Don't file. Don't take my son. I'll do anything, just don't destroy us. I stepped back, her hand slipping from my leg. There is no us, I said softly. There never was. There was only your lie, and the people who helped you maintain it. I turned to my son. You ready to go home? He nodded, wiping his tears. As we walked to the door, I paused, looking back one last time. Her family was frozen, guilt-ridden, defeated, exposed. My wife was on her knees, sobbing into her hands. And I felt something unexpected. Not anger. Not triumph. Not revenge. Closure. A clean ending to 21 years of falsehood. I opened the door, placed a hand on my son's shoulder, and said the final truth she never expected to hear. You didn't just lose your marriage tonight. You lost your power. Then I walked out of that house. And never looked back.